Following US sanctions on Russian oil majors Rosneft and Lukoil, which took effect on 21st November, Indian refiners are broadening both their supplier base and procurement channels. Now, new Russian suppliers and opaque trading entities are gradually stepping into that space. Hello, I'm Udit Bubna, and today I will talk about how India is diversifying its oil purchases but not disengaging with Russia either. With sanctions covering two of the major companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, from where India used to import bulk of its crude earlier, now newer Russian players like Tatneft, one of the top 5 largest oil producing companies in Russia, Rusexport, More Export, among others, have entered the fray according to market analysts. According to Kepler, a global trade intelligence firm that tracks real-time energy flows, Russian oil itself is not sanctioned, the suppliers are. That is why non-designated producers can legally step in to fill part of the gap created by Rosneft and Lukoil restrictions. Sumit Ratolia, a lead analyst for refining and modeling at Kepler, in an interview to ThePrint said that as US sanctions impact kicks in for the full month, Russian inflows dropped to around 1.2 million barrels per day in December 2025, the lowest since December 2022 and down from about 1.84 million barrels per day in November 2025, a drop of nearly 35%. However, despite decline, Russian oil still accounted for a quarter of India's total oil imports, the highest for any trading partner but the lowest for Russia during the year. The fall was driven largely by major refiners such as Reliance Industries and New Mangalore Refinery, which scaled back purchases after US sanctions came into effect. To offset this decline in Russian oil, India has increased purchases from the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait in December. UAE supply grew by 131% to 592,000 barrels per day from 256,000 barrels per day in November, while Kuwait supplies jumped 63% from 178,000 barrels per day to 290,000 barrels per day during the same time frame. India also turned to the Americas. Brazil supplied 246,000 barrels per day of crude oil in December, while Mexico supplied 65,000 barrels per day, with both countries registering no purchases during the month of November. Now, coming to 2026, India is expected to maintain a pragmatic and diversified approach to crude oil imports, with Middle Eastern suppliers anchoring its energy basket while Russian crude remains deeply embedded. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, and Kuwait are expected to dominate India's crude slate due to the country's proximity, reliability, and refinery compatibility. At the same time, Russian oil is likely to retain its position in India's refining system, supported by existing contractual relationships, favorable pricing, and refinery optimization. According to Ritolia of Kepler, as long as broader secondary sanctions are not enforced, India is expected to continue importing Russian barrels as economics support the case, albeit increasingly through indirect and less transparent channels, keeping these barrels structurally embedded in India's crude basket. However, while India has demonstrated its ability to offset any reduction in Russian volumes with substitutes from the Middle East countries, it will come at a higher cost, compressing the margin offered by discounted Russian oil. On the demand side, upcoming capacity additions are expected to raise India's crude import requirements in 2026. A refinery in Rajasthan is expected to start operations in the first half of 2026, along with expansions at existing plants in Haryana's Panipat and Assam's Golaghat. Thank you for watching. For more such videos, please subscribe to the Print's YouTube channel.